Welcome everyone to the Sunday service of Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Our centering thought this morning is the old model of toughness. In essence, throws people into the deep end of the pool, but forgets that we need to first teach people how to swim. As we enjoy the prelude, let's silence our cell phones, quiet our minds, and open our hearts.
So this is Rodgers and Hammerstein, My Favorite Things, John Coltrane version. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I won't feel so bad.
Thanks, Barbara. So, kind of a fun version of Julie Andrews meets John Coltrane. That's great. My name is Tom Brower. I am this morning's service associate. For those with limited vision, I'm about 6 feet tall. I'm a gray-haired guy wearing all blue. Here at Summit, we ask you to imagine a different kind of religious community. We don't come together because we all believe alike. We unite around something deeper, a commitment to love, to justice, and to caring for each other and the world we inhabit. And we look for wisdom wherever it can be found. The world's religious traditions, modern science, the natural world, philosophy, and the quiet insights of personal experience. We're spiritual adventurers, and the world is our library. If you're new and you would like to learn more, we invite you to go to our website, summituuf.org. And if you visit, please remember to click on the visitors button for us. Again, that's summituuf.org. And if you're here in person, we invite you to stick around afterward and talk to a member or two. We have 2 announcements this morning. Jim first, and then Mary.
Good morning. I'm Jim Weed, chairperson of the Welcoming and Membership Committee here at Summit. And I'm just doing a brief reminder that next Saturday, or actually Sunday, April 26th at 11:30 a.m. will be our next Getting to Know Us event next door in the library. Here you'll have an opportunity to learn more about Unitarian Universalism, as well as Summit UU Fellowship. You also get a chance to meet several of the members, the board president, Casey, and so on. You'll also learn about the history and programs here at Summit. We'll be serving a light lunch during the event, so please contact me. Not only is my contact information found in the weekly email, e-news, or the monthly scene, but if you're here today, you can just come try to catch me either at the visitors table after the service or in the salon. Thank you.
Is this on? There we go. Good morning. Hi. I'm back after having my surgery. I'm a little tender, but I'm doing good. I wanted to let you all today is Earth Day Garden Play in RE. So we're going to be out in the garden. There's a ton of kale out there. We're going to harvest some kale. So if y'all want some, the kids will set up a little farmer's market afterwards. They might come around the salon with kale and stuff so you can, no, it's for free. It's just what we do. It's part of our service. And secondly, I wanted to let you all know that next Sunday, of course, go have lunch with Reverend Casey because that's amazing, and Jim. But there's also going to be Earth-Centered Spirituality Group at noon here in the sanctuary. And we're going to, if I can figure it out, try to do a maypole. So we'll see. So thank you.
Our commitment to justice compels us each Sunday to pause and acknowledge that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Kumeyaay people. This land was not freely given, and the history of its taking is part of the story that we inherit. We honor the resilience, sovereignty, and ongoing presence of the Kumeyaay Nation. The flaming chalice was first used by Unitarians during World War II to symbolize the core values of sacrifice and love in the adversity of war. I now invite Nathalie forward to light our chalice. In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement, that our values may guide our choices. Let us look first to the response of love. Now, please rise as you are able for our UU hymn and aspiration. and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. Please be seated. I now invite Casey to the pulpit for our reading.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Casey Marie Pandell. It is my joy and honor to be the minister here at Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether it is your first visit today or your 5,000th visit, you are whole, you are holy, you are loved, and you are so welcome here. I am a 5'4", 36-year-old woman with blue hair today, wearing a very springy dress with fruit on it, a purple and pink stole with lots of tattoos. Our reading today comes from the book A Call to Care, Essays by Unitarian Universalist Chaplains. And this is Karen Bridget Tallison's essay, The How, Not the Why. Spirituality, very basically, is the way we all experience life by striving to make meaning, to find hope, and to feel safe. How do we make meaning of the good things as well as the difficult things that happen to us? Do we rely on friends, family, Allah, Jesus, God, universal love, or a walk in the woods? When we're overwhelmed, what we once relied on may not help us, and we may experience spiritual and emotional chaos, pain, and distress. A while ago, I visited with a mother whose 8-month-old baby boy had Down syndrome. He was in the hospital for a respiratory infection and was doing fine. But the mother had requested a chaplain as she was struggling with accepting all that she had been handed when her son came into her life. She told me, "I'm a type A personality. Everything has always been perfect for me. When I was pregnant with him, I spent an hour in prayer every morning to ensure that this baby would be born healthy. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I eat right, I exercise. Why did this happen?" For quite some time, I listened to her ask why. Her pain, her spiritual pain, evident on her face and in her voice. As I listened, I heard in her words my own litany around my personal struggles. How many times do I, like parents and patients, ask, why is this happening to me? As I listened to this mother's words of pain and longing, the words that came to me were, I hear what you're asking, and I know I ask the why questions too. But I've never heard a good answer to that question. I wonder if we're asking the wrong question. I wonder if our energy would be better spent asking, how? How do we live with the what? How do we live without the why? Figuring out the why doesn't really help. My work is to figure out the how. Now I see this mom and her son periodically when they come in for clinic appointments. She is loving and caring and even joyful with her sweet son. They are both well and happy and figuring out the how just fine. Welcome to worship. And I would like to invite Stacy Sasaki to be our cantor today. You may notice in your orders of service it says that Jerica will be here. Unfortunately, Jerica is out sick, so there's going to be a few changes throughout today as well.
Oh, do you want to stand? Everybody, if you're able and willing. My heart is open, open wide to
portion of our service give us the opportunity to hold the things in our lives that are too big to hold alone. Perhaps when we're holding those why questions when we should be asking how. Throughout the week, folks are invited to send joys and concerns via email or text to myself or Stacy Sasaki. You also are welcome to write one up at the chancel before service. And as always, whether spoken or unspoken, all are welcome to light a candle. You'll see we have a few more candles lit today than actual sorrows or joys I have to share. Nathalie shares a concern, saying, "My son-in-law Neil and the 82nd from Fort Bragg in North Carolina are being deployed to Iran. He is leaving his wife and child behind to fight and possibly die in a senseless war." You can ask Nathalie what she feels about that on your own time. Nathalie, we hold Neil and the 82nd in our hearts, hoping for swift resolutions and safe returns. We hold Mama and baby in our hearts as they sit with the uncertainties and the unknowns of what, if, and when. We hold all the whys of the unknowns, the unsensible, the frightening. The women who have found out this week that their most private moments were spread out on the internet for them, for others to see without consent. We hold the unknowns of the conflict in Iran. We hold the uncertainties that it brings the global economy, that it brings each of us in our own lives. We hold the pain and the confusion, and also we uplift the joys, the hope, the life that there is still to live in these moments. Even when it is so scary and we are hard-pressed to ask anything but why? Why is this happening? We come to spaces like this to remember that this is how we get through those whys. Together in this space, holding each other in loving kindness, whether spoken or unspoken. We hold everyone, each other, ourselves, kindly and tenderly in our hearts. Amen. And I would like to invite Mary Carter Vale to the pulpit.
Good morning. Again, my name is Mary, and I am 5'7", wearing a blue flower dress today with a necklace that I made at Pam's Beading Fiesta yesterday. There's a lot of us sporting our new goods, so check them out. And I have a story for y'all today. Anybody who'd like to come up is welcome to. They seem pretty engaged. They're doing art back there. We have a whole art thing going on today. And today, for those that may not remember, is Earth Day. Earth Day is today. There's a big celebration. So we're going to the garden for Earth Day, which is what we traditionally do at Summit. But I have a story for you. It's a wisdom tale that comes to us from Nigeria. So it's a Nigerian folk tale, and it has to do with Earth Day. So let me share this story with you today. In the beginning, the sky was close to the earth. So close, come on up. It was so close to the earth that you could reach up and touch it, and you could eat it. You could eat the sky. And in those days, the people always had enough to eat without ever having to work for it. Men and women didn't have to plow fields, sow seeds, or gather crops. And the children did not have to fetch sticks for the fire. Whenever anyone was hungry, they just reached up and tore off a piece of the sky. But the people grew careless with the sky's gifts. They broke off more than they needed. After all, the sky was so big, and they thought, there would be enough for everybody. Who cares about a little wasted sky? The sky, but the sky cared. Soon the sky's sorrow turned to resentment, and the resentment grew to anger. I offer myself every day to these people, the sky brooded, and they throw me away half-eaten like garbage. Ooh, that feels bad, doesn't it? People of the earth, the sky's eyes flared with lightning, clouds bubbled and boiled. You have not treated me with respect. You have wasted my gifts, and I warn you, if you are greedy, I will leave. I will move far away. After that, no one broke off more than they could eat. They always remembered to thank the sky. But then the time came for the greatest festival of the year in honor of the chief of the kingdom. The night rang with music, bells clanged and drums banged, and people stamped and clapped and laughed and danced. The tables were heaped with dishes of specially prepared sky. Sky in every form, from custard apple to cocoa plum. There was plenty for everybody, for the sky was generous. It trusted the people to only take what they needed. But there was one woman who was never satisfied. Osato always wanted more. Her arms were heavy with brass bracelets, but brass wasn't good enough for her. She wanted coral bracelets. And most of all, she loved to eat. First, she helped herself to a handful of noon yellow sky that tasted like pineapple. Chunk after chunk disappeared into her mouth. Then she ladled out some spicy sky stew, spicy and warm and delicious. And she lifted the dish to her lips and drained it, dumplings and all. Gulp, gulp, gulp. Soon her stomach was stuffed, and she loosened her robe. What next? Delicate slices of morning sky, pink and glistening. With a swift movement, she scooped them up and slurped them down all at once. At last, the tables were empty, and Osato was full, and she waddled home. Waddling home. She was full to bursting, but her eyes kept wandering up to the sky. What would it taste like right now? Citrus storm? Her taste buds tingled. Luscious mango? Her mouth watered. Honey sunsets? She licked her lips. Her fingers began to pull out her spoon. She kept one tucked up in her headscarf for just in case. So she stopped herself just in time. Osato knew the sky offered itself only because no one ever took more than they needed, and she knew she didn't need any more, but oh, how she wanted just one more spoonful. The sky is so huge, Osato said to herself. It can't hurt just to have a little bit more. So she pulled out her spoon and she plunged it into the sky. She savored a mouthful of sky, and then another. She threw down the spoon and scooped with her hands, sucking the delicious sky down. Must have tasted really good at that time. Finally, without another thought, she pulled down a great slab of sky, enough to feed a family for a week. She licked all around the edges, chewing more slowly now. She stared up at the huge hole above her. She stared down at the enormous mound of sky that she had taken, and she knew she had taken more than she could eat. Above her head, there were rumblings. Think of thunder. What have I done? Osato gasped. I cannot waste this sky. What shall I do? She called to her husband to help, but he had been feasting too and was slumped in his chair, too full to move. So she managed a few more mouthfuls. She called to her children to help, but they too were full from a wonderful feast. Still, they forced down a few fingerfuls. And then she called her neighbors to help, but they had all been at the festival too. And at the sight of more food, they held their stomachs and groaned. But they ate as much as they could, with worried frowns on their faces, anxious glances above their head to the sky. But even with the help of the entire village, they could not eat that last piece of sky. Osato had taken too much. But what does it matter? Osato told herself at last. It's just a bit of waste. But the feeling in the pit of her stomach told her otherwise. No one slept well that night. And the next morning, the sky did not offer food to the people. Parents had nothing for breakfast. Children cried, hungry. Osato knelt on the ground, rocking and sobbing. I am so sorry. But the sky just sighed, and with a great rush of air, it lifted itself up high as the treetops, high as the mountain tops. High above the earth rose the sky, far beyond the reach of humans. I gave you all you needed, its voice floated down to Osato, but you still took more. I cannot stand such greed. I must leave. I will not return. But how will we live? Osato said. What will we eat? There was silence. Osato's tears fell to the earth, and the earth spoke. Dry your tears, it said gently. I can feed you, but you will have to work for your living. You will have to learn to plow fields, to sow seeds and harvest crops, and remember what you have learned today. Take only what you need, and I will give it gladly. I will, promised Osato through her tears. I will never take more than I need, ever, ever again. So the story reminds us how sometimes we can be so focused on what we want that you forget what the earth wants and needs. And it reminds us that if we want to pursue the possibility of healing the earth, we need to think through our choices more carefully, making choices that don't just satisfy our needs, but also address the world's needs too. So today we're going to go address the community needs by planting some gorgeous heirloom tomatoes that I bought from a farm stand in Ramona. So we may all have tomatoes this summer, which will be really fun. So that is my story for you today. So you ready to go garden? Grab my phone. All right, we're going to do our song. You'll stay for our song. I almost forgot.
And it's long, and it's lovely, and it's lovely.
And it's like our like who we are, you know?
We've cleared off the table, leftovers saved, washed the dishes and put them away. I've told you a story,
Please join me in a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection as I read words from Richard S. Gilbert entitled, When Life is Messy. It is easy to pray when the sun shines and we are grateful for another glorious day of being. It is hard to pray when wind and rain and thunder plague our every step and spoil our every plan. It can be easy to be virtuous when life goes well and our existence is a journey from bliss to beauty and back. It is hard to be virtuous when life assaults us and our very being is a pilgrimage from bad to worse to worst. It is easy to be cheerful when health bursts in us, so that we can feel the very pulse of life. It is hard to be happy when pain and fatigue beset us, and we wonder if we can go on. It is easy to do good when our goodness is rewarded, and we feel the power of pride in accomplishment. It is hard to do good when we suffer for our efforts and are troubled because we have been misunderstood. It is easy to feel religious impulses well up inside us when inspiration lives at our elbow and walks on our path. It is hard to feel religious when we are tired with work to be done and discouragement seems to mark our every move. O God of order and neatness, we give thanks for all that is good. We are grateful for manifold blessings bestowed upon us. O God of chaos and disorder, be with us also when life is messy. Bless our coming in and our going out from this day forward. So may it be, and amen. So I was a theater major in college. I would tell people most of the time I've been an actor pretty much my whole life. I understand I was watching something with Laurence Olivier when I was like 3 and saw him walk down a flight of stairs and looked at my mom and went, I do that. So this is kind of like doing theater was what I always wanted to do. Theater major into college. And I have to tell you, I got to college and I was kind of not a great student. It wasn't that I didn't want to be a good student. It's that the finance committee could probably tell you that math is not my strong suit, which is why I'm so grateful for a great finance committee and the fact that I don't touch money. So math is one of those things that every year would come back to bite me horribly. And I got to the end of my 5th year at Chapman University. It did take me an extra year. And I remember asking one of my friends, hey, what grade do I need in my 5th remedial math class do I need to get my degree this year? And he said a D- or above. And I went, sick, D's get degrees. And I graduated that year. 8 years later is when I decided to go to seminary. So when I got to seminary, I wanted to be the best student, not just the best student I could be, but I really wanted to be the best student at Meadville Lombard. Bonkers thing to tell myself, but I wanted to. So I hit every class. It was like, I remember my first intensive week because Meadville's based in Chicago, so I had to be up early, not a morning person, at 6 o'clock every morning to get ready for my full day of 8 hours of class, because it was all on Zoom. I went to seminary during COVID. I would have my coffee and my fun drink and my hydration drink, and I was ready to go. And I worked really, really hard that first year, and I aced all my classes, my first semester and my second semester. My second semester I didn't quite ace all my classes. There was a class called Constructive Theology. I don't think I could quite tell you today exactly what constructive theology class was supposed to be about. I think it was, I know this sounds like, duh, Casey, constructing your own theology, but I didn't quite understand what that meant, and I struggled with the entire course. The professor is brilliant and also extremely scholarly. I tried to give Mark Weedman one of his books, and he read it for a week, handed it back to me, and said, "Thank you so much, but no thank you." And Mark's a really smart dude. So it was really frustrating for me to be sitting in this class week after week going, what don't I get? I know what I'm talking about when I say I live out a theology of love. Why is it not working? The end of the semester came. I was on a cruise with my mom and my aunt, and I know that sounds absolutely bananas to say because I did just say it was COVID. I promise we were all vaccinated, and it was like no one was on the cruise ship, and it was $25 a night. I like a deal. And I remember sitting there with the email from my professor going, okay, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. I open the email at the dinner table and immediately start sobbing. And when I say sobbing, I mean like snot-nosed, ugly crying in public. People are starting to look at us funny. My mom's like, are you fine? Can you like go breathe? Because I got a C in the class. I know, a C. I was average. How dare I be average in a really difficult class? Try telling me then that that was okay. And I immediately texted Reverend Jason and I said, Jason, I failed a class. And he goes, okay, first of all, I know you didn't fail a class. Second of all, what are you talking about? And I proceeded to explain to him how much trouble the class had been and how frustrating it was. And he listened and he said, hey, when you get to be a minister, no one in your congregation is going to care if you got an A or a B in that class. Do you know what they are going to care about? Can you do the work you need to do? When they need you to show up and be with them, can you show up on the journey and do what they're asking you? I felt a little bit better. So the next semester, when I struggled in an equally difficult class and got an equally disappointing grade, I cheered. Because sometimes good enough is good enough. How many of us in the room grew up hearing, if you don't do it right, it's not worth doing at all? Yeah, I can tell you I know that from working with a lot of you. And that's not a judgment. I can hear it sometimes when I hear the questions that you ask me, when things aren't going the way you want them to. I can hear that ingrained theology of perfectionism. So Jerica and I have had a lot of conversations about this because we're similar ages, come with similar backgrounds, music, art, things like that. And we have a lot of similar experiences with things not going the way we wanted them to when we thought they would. And she said something to me one day and she's like, man, I wish people knew they could do the hard thing. And I went, oh, Jerica, there's a sermon in that. Because sometimes it's not about the success, right? So as I was thinking about what I wanted to call this sermon, I kept hearing, si se puede in my head. Now, for some background, the first time I heard si se puede was very specific. I was 18 when Barack Obama was running for president, and they used that as one of their slogans to go with the Yes We Can grassroots slogan that Barack Obama used. I had a big poster in my college dorm window that faced out towards the college. I was very excited about it. But I also knew what si se puede was because I grew up in California. And for those of you who are from California, you probably learned about the farm workers movement during school at some point, probably around 5th or 6th grade. So I knew, yes, we can, si se puede was the clarion call to the farm workers movement. And that was, if you are unfamiliar with that, a very, very short version of something more complicated is farm workers deserve rights, deserve to be protected. And that was the whole point of the movement. Does the name Cesar Chavez ring a bell to anybody? Tough week to hear that name come up, isn't it? Tough week when I had already named this sermon Si se puede, knowing how important of a figure Cesar Chavez had been. And yet, even though I was frustrated this week thinking, great, Now I get to preach about something that a guy that ended up being not cool made harder to deal with. And then I got an email this week from Joey Widner. She said, I did a little research for you just in case. So thank you, Joey. She did a little of my footwork for me that I hadn't done yet. And somehow Si Se Puede ended up with a little more charm this week. Charm might not be the right word, because it turns out Cesar Chavez was not the person that coined that term. Dolores Huerta did. Dolores Huerta, is that a name that anybody in the room is not familiar with? A lot of people don't know who Dolores Huerta is because she was not one of the names that was uplifted during the farm workers movement. I'll let you all decide why you think that was on your own. I've actually met Dolores Huerta. I met her in Oakland for a political rally a couple years ago, and she's exceptional. She's wildly intelligent, deeply kind and warm, and exactly the kind of person I can see having been a leader in a movement like that. Dolores Huerta, for those of you who may not have heard her name before that, is the woman who came forward a few weeks ago and told us about all of the things that Cesar Chavez did. Dolores Huerta was one of Cesar Chavez's victims. So how much more meaning Si Se Puede suddenly had when I realized Dolores Huerta had been doing the hard thing her whole life. She'd been holding on to this secret, and she even said this a few weeks ago. She'd been holding on to it because the power of the movement was more important than her own comfort. So she chose to stay silent for a really long time because the work to her needed to be done. It was hard for her, but there was more to the problem that needed to be solved. She felt so strongly that there were more people that needed the help than she did. And also, she decided to come forward when she did because she realized it no longer helped anyone if she remained silent. It was more harmful if she never told people her story. So Dolores Huerta has occupied this really specific space of doing the hard thing for like 50 years. Now, I'm not asking you all to do anything quite that dramatic when I say, let's work at doing the hard thing. But I wonder how often we're so caught up in perfection, so caught up in doing it right, that we forget that doing it well and what we learn from possibly failure is not just more important, but more spiritual and more educational than if we just had everything handed to us. Now, I know failure does not feel good. We'll put it that way. And we know that when things don't come easy to us, it's really uncomfortable. Every single time, I cannot tell you how long I've been trying to learn Spanish, you guys, and I still can't speak it to save my life. Since I was like 12. And it frustrates me that this thing continues to be difficult for me, but I still learn from it every single time I don't do it well. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not perfect as a minister. I know, a shock to some of you. But every time something doesn't go well, including this week, as Eleanor and I were talking about earlier, when I realized that I expected something to happen and it didn't happen the way I thought it would because I didn't do enough of the steps to set it up, I thought to myself, that's a failure. No, it's not. Because at the end of the day, the thing is still going to happen, and it's still going to be a wonderful thing that happened. Please come to see Peter Boland do his lecture on Saturday. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll see why I'm talking about it in this sermon. Just because it's not perfect doesn't mean it's not important. Just because we aren't perfect doesn't mean we aren't important and worthy. Just because we are not perfect doesn't mean someone else can tell us that our lack of perfection makes us unworthy. I think we get caught up so much in this idea of perfectionism that we have created a false sense of who we're meant to be. But what are we missing when we're so worried about who we should be or what things should look like, instead of embracing who we are or what's actually in front of us? I love all of you. I don't want a darn one of you to be perfect. Perfect is boring. Who wants a Stepford everything? How much more interesting is it when we have things to learn about ourselves and each other because we embrace the fact that there are things about us that aren't right? Someone yesterday said, I heard someone say something about a food that they shouldn't be eating, and Mary and I both immediately went, food has no moral value, which is like the most minister and RE response we ever could have given anybody. And that's it, right? Failure isn't a moral failure, mostly. I would think most things that anything would happen in this room wouldn't be a moral failure. If we stop putting on top of the things that happen in our lives, good or bad, it gives us the opportunity to really experience the richness of our lives in ways that I think perfectionism stops us from doing. I know there are some of you looking at me going, you're nuts. How could you? No, we have to be good. We have to be good at everything. We have to do this right. We have to do this well. Yes, we all hope we do. I also tell all my brides and grooms when I marry people, the most important thing to remember about your special day is that something is going to go wrong. Embrace it. That's the story that later is going to change everything. It's okay that the hair isn't perfect. It's okay that the shoes hurt a little bit. It's okay that there's a mark on the car or whatever else is not perfect in your life. What matters the most is the experience of being surprised, totally and completely human in that moment. Because I think that's really what I'm asking you to do. To try to do those hard things, be uncomfortable not being perfect at something. Because what it gives us is the gift of learning, the gift of understanding. I can still to this day hear my great-grandmother in the back of my head anytime I'm crocheting something and I drop a stitch and it looks funny and I haven't noticed it yet. And yet I still get such joy out of doing that thing, even though I would not trust my craftsmanship as far as I could throw it. It's really hard to ask people to do something uncomfortable for a spiritual practice, because that doesn't sound fun at all, does it? You want me to be uncomfortable deliberately to do something good for my soul? Yes, that's exactly what I'm asking you to do, because that's really how you get to know yourselves and how we give each other the gift of getting to know each other. We're gonna get it wrong. We're gonna step on each other's toes when we dance, and at the end of the day, we will still dance together. So let us go out and find those places of imperfection and revel in them and see what wonderful things we can learn together. So may it be, and amen.
We now receive the offering. Your gifts help us work together for a better world, and they also keep our lights on and our dedicated staff paid. The smallest gift is welcome. If you prefer, we've included a QR code. You can find it in the order of service. If you're on Zoom, please use the Sunday plate option in the chat.
And I'll be playing two little pieces by living British composer Lowell Lieberman, Rainy Day and Starry Night, because the Starry Night may come after the rainy day.
Before Reverend Casey's benediction, I just wanted to remind you that unfortunately we don't have our special music. Oh, I was so looking forward to our music director, Jerica, and doing that McCartney classic Blackbird, but she's out sick, as Casey said. Hopefully, it's just a postponement that maybe in a future service.
I'll let him know how disappointed you all were not see him here today. Sometimes good enough is good enough. I think Pam Williams' beading event is my favorite example of that, because I could kind of figure out how to make jewelry. I can make it look pretty on the board, and I could thread it onto the wire or the string or whatever, but actually finishing it is a totally different idea. I'm pretty sure one that I did last year didn't even hold up for more than a couple weeks, but it's still fun. Because we get to be in that space together, creating together, having community time together, enjoying a good meal together. If I was so worried about that being perfect, I don't think that would be an enjoyable event. And I don't think that event would have gone on for, I think this was the 16th year, if everybody was just worried about their creations being perfect. I think what matters is when we can come together into those spaces of curiosity more than perfection and say, I don't know what this is going to be, but it's going to be fun to do it. And if it's not fun to do it, at least hopefully you can find fun along the way while you are doing those hard things. So may it be. I have forgotten what I normally say at the end because I'm so excited about just hearing about all of the wonderful creations you guys are going to come up with as you go on your journey of perfection being imperfect. Amen, shalom, salam, ashe, namaste, and blessed be. Go now in peace. May the light within you be a blessing to the world.
We close our service by extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again. If you're new, we invite you to stay afterwards. Join us here in the sanctuary at about 11:15 or so to discuss the sermon topic, what we call our community gathering. Or you can head right over to the salon for food and fellowship. And I don't want to assume new folks know where that is, so it's that separate building on the far side of the parking lot in that direction. And for the folks on Zoom, you are welcome to join the community gathering too and to contribute. Now let's join hands for our closing circle song.